Whispers in the sandstorm. The desert swallowed everything. Sound, hope, life. Daniel hadn't meant to end up here. His route was supposed to be simple. 3 hours across the Arizona backroads, cut through the barren stretch of desert, and he'd reach his sister's house before nightfall. But the desert has a way of undoing plans. The first mistake was trusting his GPS. The second was not turning back when the screen froze, blinking a red "no service." By the time his truck sputtered, coughed, and died on that forsaken strip of highway, he was 50 miles from the last town, and who knew how far from the next. At first he thought he'd just wait. Someone would come by, someone always did. But as the hours dragged on and no cars appeared, the silence pressed in until it was unbearable. He couldn't shake the thought of being stranded when the desert's night came, when the temperatures plummeted, when the snakes and coyotes came out. So he started walking. The sun was merciless, burning into his skin, baking his scalp. His single bottle of water felt like a joke, the liquid sloshing pathetically against plastic as if mocking him. The road stretched endlessly ahead, wavering in the heat, the mirages shimmering like false promises. And then came the wind. At first he welcomed it, a cool brush against his sweat-streaked skin. But the breeze didn't stay gentle. It sharpened, picking up speed, dragging the sand into the air until the horizon disappeared in a veil of copper and gold. Within minutes, Daniel was caught in the teeth of a sandstorm. The world shrank to a choking swirl of grit. Sand pelted his body like 1,000 needles. He wrapped his shirt over his nose and mouth, eyes squinting against the burning sting, stumbling forward blindly. The road was gone. The desert was gone. There was only storm. That's when he heard it. A whisper, so faint he thought it was in his head, a trick of exhaustion and fear. But it came again, slithering through the howl of the wind. "Daniel!" He froze. His name. He had heard his name. "This way. Follow me." His skin prickled cold despite the heat. No one could possibly be out here, no one alive. He turned in a slow circle, but the storm was blinding, nothing but shifting veils of sand. Still, the voice pressed closer, warm and coaxing. "Safety, shelter, just ahead." Every instinct screamed to ignore it, but survival instinct is louder than fear. He staggered toward the sound, each step heavy, his lungs filling with grit. The whisper became a lifeline, tugging him along, urging him forward. Time unraveled in the storm. Minutes stretched like hours. Shadows moved in the grit, tall and thin, flickering at the edges of his vision. At first he told himself they were tricks of light, but one brushed his shoulder, cold, solid, wrong. He cried out, spinning, but there was nothing there, only sand, only whispers. "Don't stop now. Almost there." The storm pressed tighter. The sand rose in drifts around his legs, pulling at his steps. Sometimes the whispers sounded ahead of him, sometimes behind, sometimes circling like predators. His throat burned, his body heavy with exhaustion, but he kept moving. He couldn't stop. And then, as suddenly as it had come, the storm broke. The wind died to a sigh. The air cleared, leaving behind a hushed stillness. Daniel collapsed to his knees, coughing, his eyes watering from the grit. The desert stretched around him once more, endless and flat beneath the bruised orange sky of dusk. Relief flooded him, until he saw where he was. The ground was littered with bones. Not just one or two, but dozens. Human skeletons, half buried in the sand, stretched in grotesque poses. Some crouched low as if hiding. Some lay clawing upward, fingernails cracked and broken against stone. Their skulls tilted back, mouths wide open in eternal screams. The whispers returned. Not one voice now, many, dozens, all around him, seeping from the sand, from the bones, from the yawning skulls. Welcome, welcome, welcome. His heart hammered as the skeletons stirred. At first he thought it was the wind, the sand shifting. But no, their jaws were moving, slowly, stiffly, as if the storm had wound them back to life. Their teeth clicked together, voices weaving into a chorus. The dunes began to writhe. A skeletal hand shot from beneath the sand, clutching his ankle. Another gripped his wrist, icy fingers locking tight. He screamed, thrashing, but more hands broke free, tugging him downward. The whispers rose to a frenzy. Stay, stay with us, forever. He fought until his strength failed, the sand filling his mouth, his nose, his lungs. The last thing he saw before darkness swallowed him was a ring of skulls leaning close, grinning with hollow patience. And when the desert winds rose again, another voice joined the storm, soft, familiar, calling out to the next lost soul. This way. Follow me. Safety.